I'm Troy Johnson, joined here with Drew Toombs and Mr. Nix, the athletic director here at SGHS, for today's, TD and I guess today end show. Used to be TDS, but Sauce is working on some math homework, so he couldn't come down today. So we got the lovely Mr. Nixon here today. We're going to start off today. Cardinals making some big splashes, pun intended, with the Marlins. Acquiring Marcell Ozuna last night, all-star last year, giving up quite a bit. You know, they struck out on Stanton, but picked up Ozuna. What's your guys' opinion on this?
I think it's a great pickup. I went to a few Cardinal games last year, and one of the games I went to was a Cardinals-Marlins game, and I can remember sitting in the outfield bleachers and thinking, what better outfield is there, and especially the National League when you've got Stanton, Yelich, and Ozuna. And I was really impressed with Ozuna that day. Not only his power and his offense, but he's also a Gold Glover in left field. So, I think it's a great pickup, and I think the Cardinals are you look now at what the possibility is with their outfield, and you're looking at probably Ozuna in left, Pham in center, and Fowler in right, and that's a pretty darn good outfield defensively.
Oh, yeah.
And offensively, not too bad either. So I think it's a great pickup. I think that they need to continue to build on top of that. I think it's a good start, but I'm hoping that the Cardinals aren't finished with their offseason moves.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the Ozuna pick was really good. I mean, their outfield's way better now that I think that they have Ozuna. But I mean, you have two guys that hit over 300 last year in Pham and Ozuna, and Feller had a down year last year, so I wonder if he can bounce back from it. So you're looking at a really good outfield, and all of them were center fielders, so they're all very speedy and that
Athletic.
athletic, so that they can get to the ball.
Right, and they're projecting that Ozuna is going to have 26, 28 home runs, but I guess I'm a little optimistic because I think he's going to be more around in the 30s and maybe even low 40s. And it goes beyond just that too. Everybody's saying that Ozuna is a good clubhouse presence as well. That he brings a lot of character and that he's a fan favorite. That he's one of those guys that stays longer than anybody else signing autographs. So, right now the Cardinals don't have a whole lot of big personalities in the clubhouse. They've got a Carlos Martinez, but he's almost out on an island on his own, it seems like sometimes with that personality. But it's funny because they're adding Ozuna and that big personality and that clubhouse favorite, but him and Martinez are actually already good friends. So I think Martinez is probably pretty happy about this, and I think it's going to make Martinez an even better player, feel even more comfortable in the Cardinal clubhouse, and I think he's going to be a major add, not only just meaning Ozuna, not only statistically, but with the culture of the team.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Cardinals did give up a lot for him. They gave up Sandy Alcantara, who is one of the top prospects in the organization. They also gave up Magneuris Sierra, who's another top prospect. And they gave up two pitching prospects, Zach Gallen and Daniel Castano, who's a lefty. So, I mean, they gave up some good prospects, but they also got a 27-year-old Ozuna, who's two-time All-Star, who is still relatively young and can still move very well in the outfield. So,
see, another part of this deal that I think factored into it, the Cardinals were talking about Machado. But the thing is, although younger and probably a little more, he's a position that we're more in need of, I guess. Ozuna's got 2 years left, 2 years of team control. So, and Machado only has one. And Machado is not going to stay in a market like St. Louis. He's going to go to New York. He's going to go to wherever he wants to go, a big market team. And Ozuna, it's a small market in Miami, and you never heard him complain about it. That's what I like about this pickup is not only the personality and the stats, but, the question of did we give up all these prospects, young prospects at that, for a guy that's only going to be here for 2 years? I think that answer is no. I think we're going to re-sign him to arguably, maybe at the time, if he keeps producing, the largest contract we've ever seen in Cardinal history.
Go ahead, sorry.
I completely agree with you, and as much as I would love to have Manny Machado, I think you're right. You can't sign a player like that to a one-year deal because it's just not going to.
And his injury history is just it's
right,
too much.
Right.
Exactly.
He's a great player, and I was actually lucky enough. I've met Manny Machado in person. I have a friend who's an athletic trainer for the Baltimore Orioles, and when they first signed Manny Machado, he went to the Frederick Keys, which is it's the class or it's the single A team for the Baltimore Orioles, and they had just signed him. He was like 18 years old. I think he signed for $1 million right off the bat. And my friend, his name is Pat, said, "Hey, do you and Mason want to come back and meet this guy Manny Machado?" And I'd never heard of him at the time, but I knew he was this big star, and he was straight out of this high school in Miami, actually the same high school that A-Rod went to. And Pat was telling me this guy's going to be a star in the MLB in the next couple of years, and I think it was the next year he was starting third base for the Baltimore Orioles. But yeah, it would be great to have Manny Machado on the team, and I think he would be willing to come to St. Louis if they would put him at shortstop, and I think the Cardinals would be willing to do that. But I don't think the Cardinals are willing to sign him for a one-year deal, and then all of a sudden he goes to the Yankees or a big market like you said. But Ozuna, you have that feeling that he could be a long-time Cardinal. You hope that he could possibly be a long-time Cardinal. And, I'm not giving up on the idea of Machado, but I hope that if they do pick him up, that it's a long-term deal, or at least longer than
wait
a year.
a year, so you don't have to give anything up for him.
Right.
I mean, he's gonna. You look at that free agency class next year, and you got Bryce Harper, you got Manny Machado, Josh Donaldson, all these big-name stars. And, outside of Harper, because no one's really linked to him besides the Nationals and the Yankees in free agency, I mean, the Cardinals have been linked to both Donaldson and Machado.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, I agree with that. And the Cardinals are, another one they're looking at is Longoria and Colm. So if they can sign those two, that'll be another big pickup that they can get with Colm, a really good pitcher out of Tampa, and you get Longoria, who's been a big star for however many years right now.
Yeah, that's the thing I was talking. You heard me talking earlier about it with Longoria. Yeah, he's on the downward trend, and someone was arguing with me that they'd rather have Donaldson than Longoria, and I was like, Donaldson's one of my favorite players in the major leagues, but he's always hurt. And you look at him since his MVP season back in 2015, he's been hurt consistently, and Longoria averages 148 games a year since he came into the league. Although, no, he's not the player he used to be. He's not going to hit 35, 40 home runs. He's not going to hit 320.
He's still dependable.
He's dependable. He provides gold glove defense at the hot corner, which is something the Cardinals have lacked since ever. It's since Scott Rowland, basically, it seems like. And I think picking up Longoria, yes, he's older. Yes, he's on the downward spiral. But he's still putting up numbers. If you play 150 games, you're going to put up numbers consistently.
Well, and the Cardinals have been known to pick players up in the twilight of their career, and it worked for them. They did it with Carlos Beltran, who's not done yet, but he's in the latter part of his career. They did it with players like Sean Dunston and Will Clark, and it's worked for them. And in most cases, not every time, but they're known for doing that, and so it's a possibility. And I'll be honest with you, I'd take either Longoria or Josh Donaldson. So, but like I said, I hope they're not done and just satisfied with the Ozuna deal. I know that the Cardinals are looking at moving Piscotty for personal reasons, and you really got to admire what the Cardinals are doing there, because let's be honest, they're going to put him probably with the A's in Oakland, so that he can
traded
be with
last
his mom.
night.
Did he end up getting traded?
Yeah,
I was
we
probably
got
sleeping by then.
I don't think the prospects. We got 2 prospects.
I'm looking it up.
It hasn't been disclosed who they are yet, but I was looking at that this morning, and I was really happy for the Cardinals on one part, because you look at Piscotty and where does he fit in?
Right.
And you look at the personal struggles he went through, his mom being diagnosed with ALS. He's a California boy. I think this is a great move for not only the Cardinals but Stephen Piscotty as a person too.
Well, and that's how you treat people, and I think the Cardinals, they're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for Stephen Piscotty. But let's be honest, the other players in the league, when they see that, and they see that they're sending Piscotty there because Piscotty's mother is sick, and it allows him to be closer to his mom, other players recognize that, and they want to be a part of that. So that might help the Cardinals now or in the future when players consider going to the Cardinal organization.
So
I was reading up on it earlier, and they did trade for an outfielder or a fielder of some sort and a pitcher, and I forgot what his name was, but the fielder that they did have hit over 300 with 22 home runs in both double and triple A. So you're also thinking, if they got him, will he be another factor in that outfield that you get with Ozuna, Pham, and Fowler? Could he be another prospect that you bring up?
I don't think he will necessarily. I think he'll be in spring training, as most high-name prospects like that are. But you look at the Cardinals' outfield, and it's still crowded. You got Ozuna, Pham, Fowler, probably the 3 given starters, barring any injuries. But then you got guys like Harrison Bader who came up and performed last year. You got Jose Martinez. You still got Randall Grichuk. What are we going to do with him? I mean, that's 6 guys for 3 outfield spots. And although Martinez, I mean, we're looking at, possibly is he going to be opening day first baseman? Are we going to move Carpenter back to third and bring Jerko off the bench? I mean, there's so many puzzle pieces right now in this Cardinals equation. I'm not really sure they know how to put them all together to make a big picture here.
Right, and that's actually in the Cardinals' favor because, as you said, they don't have room for everybody right now. So they have those trading pieces that they can still go out and they can trade a Grichuk or a Jose Martinez and get things for them and really not lose much because, like you said, really those guys would be coming off the bench. And the Cardinals have, over the past couple of years, had really the best pinch hitters and probably the majors. But is that what you want? Is that what you want to have guys who are playing every day for you?
Right.
And you're willing to trade those pinch hitters for guys who are going to play for you every day. So I'm hoping the Cardinals go out and find, it'd be nice to have another starting pitcher.
So I was just going to say,
just anybody that'll help the batting order. Last year when you go to a Cardinal game and they've got all the batting averages of the players and none of them are over. I think there was one that was over 300. Yeah, and it's just like, well, how good are they going to be when their averages are 260, 250, 220, 230, and so forth all the way down the lineup? And their pitching is good, but it's not what the Dodgers have. It's not what the Cubs have. It's not that quality, and they either need to go out and get those bats, they need to go out and get that dominant starting pitcher, or they need to go out and do both. So.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to ask you guys, what next for the Cardinals? I know, we just signed Gregerson the other day. He's a bullpen arm, but when you're losing 4 and you only bring in 1, I mean, you're still losing 3 arms. But I am shocked still that they have not re-signed Juan Nicasio.
Yeah,
I am shocked.
That would be a good pickup if they can pick him back up and sign him again.
Yeah, and you asked what's next. That's a good question because if you look at who their probable starters are right now,
we got 3.
Yeah, there's 3, and they're still in the same spot as they were last year, minus Lynn. So, how long? I don't think anybody is expecting Wainwright to go out and have the year that he had 5 years ago. Yeah,
no.
I mean he's throwing curveballs that are 65 miles per hour. How long is that going to work? So
exactly.
I love having Wainwright on the team. He's one of my favorite Cardinals of all time. But he's getting old, and he's just not going to be as dominant as he has been in the past. And so they've got him. They've got Carlos Martinez, who's probably the best pitcher on the staff right now. And
definitely.
How many wins did he have last year?
12.
He had 12 wins last year, and that's your best pitcher. So they need to do something. They need to, and you're hoping Alex Reyes will come up and have a dominant year, but he's coming right off of Tommy John surgery. So he's a big unknown.
Right.
They've got to do something with pitching if they want to be competitive in the NL Central.
I totally agree. And you brought up Lance Lynn. What do you guys think about him not re-signing him? I mean, do you think that was a good idea, or
he's a workhorse? But if you look at him, like all of his sabermetric numbers were so low last year. I mean, his walks per 9 were up. His strikeouts per 9 were the lowest they've ever been in his career. And coming off Tommy John, one Tommy John, it's like, do you really want a guy with Tommy John coming off of one throwing 200 innings for you?
No, yeah.
Well, and early in his career with the Cardinals, he was he had the most run support of any Cardinal pitcher.
Right.
He was good.
That's why he won 18 games
job.
with a 4.3 ERA.
Right. He was good, and he ate up innings, which is very important to have in your rotation to save your bullpen. But at the same time, for whatever reason, their bats were getting hot when he was pitching. So that helps, and that wasn't the case last year, and I don't think it was the case the year before either. So his success, his 18 wins, dropped dramatically.
Yeah.
I like Lynn, and he's a good pitcher, and I hated to lose him, but I'm interested to see what we're going to get instead of him in that rotation.
I don't think the Cardinals are going to get an Arrieta or a Darvish or anyone like that, but I could see them. Someone, I know both of them just signed with the Cubs, but someone of this caliber, like a Drew Smyly or Tyler Chatwood, some of those back of the end, middle of the rotation guys that you're basically signing to eat up innings for a couple of years until those guys like Jack Flaherty and Junior Fernandez and what's the lefty's name? Dakota Hudson. He's not the lefty, but until guys like that are Austin Gomber, that's who I'm thinking of. Until the guys like that are ready to come up, and, they're not yet. You look at Luke Weaver, and really, he had a good year last year, but he's penciled in as our fourth starter right now, and he was good last year, but I mean, so was Alex Reyes, and his arm blew up in spring training. You can't count on young guys like this that are so unproven to carry a rotation for a team.
I totally agree. And the Cardinals really need one of those starters like Arrieta or one of those guys to actually step up and be an inning eater like Mr. Nix said.
I think like I said, I think the Cardinals, I think they're talking to Alex Cobb, but I don't think they're going to sign him. And, the starting pitching market is so thin this year. I mean,
it is. Yeah, absolutely. And, the Cardinals suffer from the same handicap every year. They're a small market. And when you're the Cubs and the Dodgers and the Yankees just proved this past week with signing Stanton, they've got the money to
definitely
be able to go out and buy an all-star team. I mean, the Yankees, Lord, they've got the two, the AL and the NL home run leaders, and behind them they've got Gary Sanchez, who was in the home run competition. They've got three players who were in the home run derby last year, at least three. And, the Cardinals, they just don't have the money to do that. Them in Cincinnati and Milwaukee, those small market teams, right now they're always at a disadvantage because they just don't have the money that those teams have to go out and sign those big-time players.
Absolutely.
And until they change the rules in Major League Baseball, that's never going to change.
Right.
No, I totally agree.
But we're running low on time here. We'll talk about one more thing. But I think the bullpen still remains a big question mark. I mean, you get rid of Rosenthal, Zach Duke, Juan Nicasio. You're looking at guys like Matt Bowman, Tyler Lyons. I mean, we don't have Segrist anymore. I mean, the bullpen's a big question mark, too. I'd say just the pitching staff in general is a big question mark. You're bringing in a new bullpen coach. I'm pretty sure a new pitching coach. And it's just where to keep, like you said, Mr. Nix, to keep up with the Cubs, you got to sign. If you're the Cardinals, you got to sign guys for cheap and that are going to provide, and it's hard to do that in a market like today's.
Exactly.
Well, and the Cardinals have done a good job over the years of having a good farm system. And when you're a small market team, you've got to have that because the Yankees they don't have to have a good farm team. They just go out and they buy what they want. But the Cardinals have to rely on their scouts. They have to rely on their coaches, their talent scouts and so forth to let them know who to draft, who to trade, who to cut, who to keep, and so forth down in that farm system. They really have to work harder, to be honest with you, than those big city teams like the Dodgers and Yankees and so forth. But the Cardinals have done a good job of that in the past. But how long is that going to last?
Exactly.
How long are they going to have that good farm system?
It's a big question mark right now.
Yeah, so that's really going to wrap it up. I think today was talked about quite a bit regarding the Cardinals. It's definitely going to be an interesting offseason for them. But once again, I'm Troy Johnson with Drew Toombs and Mr. Nix. Thank you, Mr. Nix, for coming on today. We were short a person. You really filled in, helped us out there.
I appreciate it. I love talking sports, so it was my pleasure.
We do, too. But next Monday, I believe, will be our next one. I don't think our first one has been pushed out yet, but that's subject to change. But once again, I'm Troy Johnson here with Mr. Nix and Drew Toombs, and we will see you next Monday.